what they had to say, so thank you. I want to start out, I guess I should introduce myself just in case some of you don't know who I am. So I'm David Schwartz, I'm currently the CTO at Ripple, and I'm one of the original developers of what we now call the XRP ledger. And I want to start out just with a little bit of a personal statement that I think is important, especially given what's been happening with the markets lately. I just want to say, the markets are telling us we're all in this together. It is not guaranteed that blockchain will succeed. It is not guaranteed that cryptocurrencies will take over the world. Those are not things that are sure to happen. This is a nascent ecosystem. It's immature, and we need smart people to work in it, and we're chasing them away. We're being very militant. There's infighting. I know everybody thinks they have their own money on the line, and so someone who disagrees with you is taking food out of your children's mouths. We all want the same thing, and I want us to stop chasing smart people away. I know that there was some conversation on Twitter recently about whether Ripple wants other cryptocurrencies to succeed, other businesses to succeed. We have our spring effort. We've been trying to help. I have a smartphone in my pocket. I think probably just about everybody in this room does. Now, imagine if you work for Twitter. That's great. Like, every single person in this room probably can access Twitter anytime they want. And I'm sure most of you have home internet access. That's great for Twitter too. You're their target market. If I'm a marketer at Twitter, I'm not thinking, how do I get phones in people's pockets so they can access Twitter? How do I get people on the internet, right? My target market is people who already have phones and people who already have home internet access. They don't have that because of anything Twitter did. They have that because of the ecosystem. Even Twitter's competitors, Facebook competes with Twitter. But Facebook is one of the reasons that there's an ecosystem. It's one of the reasons that we have high-speed Wi-Fi. This ecosystem was built by an enormous number of companies who all had their stake. If we're going to rebuild payments, if we're going to rebuild the way money works, no one person or project is going to do it. We need the ecosystem. So please stop chasing people out of the ecosystem. We want smart people. Anyway, on to the actual reason why you're here. Under the hood, the XRP ledger. In late 2011, 𝕝𝕚𝕚𝕝 kind of had this idea that proof of work was not the secret sauce in Bitcoin, that there was other properties that I'll talk about in a little bit, and that there was a better way, or at least another way possibly, using what we would call federated Byzantine agreement. But let me talk a little bit about what digital currencies are, just so that we kind of have the scope. They're rooted in blockchains, and by blockchains, I almost literally just mean chains of blocks. I think this is an important thing too, that the term blockchain has become somewhat muddy. It's a data structure. It's literally a chain of blocks. To be a little bit more precise, what a blockchain is it's a system in which you have data structures that show the state transitions in the system. So a blockchain is a fancy name for a database. It changes state, and those state changes are documented in blocks that allow anybody to check the validity of those state changes. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. There are no system administrative functions. Bitcoin doesn't have an administrative function. XRP doesn't have an administrative function. Litecoin doesn't have administrative functions. Ethereum has no administrative functions. Everybody accesses the system on an equal plane. They have some portions of this, they have maybe their own assets, but they have privileged access to their own assets, but that's it. Nobody has privileged access to anybody else's assets. And rules are public. In other words, every one of us in this room can tell if a Bitcoin transaction is valid. We don't need to ask anybody else. That's important, and state is public. And I think the most important thing, if you ask me, like, what is the breakthrough in Bitcoin? What is the aha? What is the insight? What is the magic secret sauce? It is that last bullet point, that all participants can enforce the rules. What that means is if you run a Bitcoin full node, and this is true of pretty much every blockchain, the only way for someone to say, I have a Bitcoin, is to demonstrate to you that they have that Bitcoin in compliance with the system's rules. Every individual participant can enforce those system rules. And that means that anything that violates those rules is essentially impossible. Obviously, a bug might allow us to, a bug might mean that the software doesn't enforce the rules we think it does. Bitcoin has had 2 of those, but we fix them and we move on, and hopefully the number of those bugs is finite. But the fear of a bug specifically targeting you log into your bank and your money's gone. And you say, bank, what happened to my money? Imagine if the bank couldn't tell you your money was gone without proving that you authorized the transfer of it. That is a huge difference that eliminates any number of threat models and costs associated with software development. And that's one of the reasons that I think blockchain could be a data structure that can become much more popular in many types of applications where a huge fraction of the difficulty of the implementation and operation is ensuring that the system's rules aren't violated. If you imagine you build a system and you deploy it, part of the cost of operating that system, let's say you use a traditional centralized database, part of the cost of operating that system is making sure that that centralized database isn't compromised, because if the database is compromised, everybody listens to what it says. If you don't trust any centralized database, that whole problem just goes away. And I think centralized databases have been oversold. We've been told, oh, that's a solved problem, just use a centralized database. They're not cheap. They're not reliable. No major blockchain has had any downtime in the past 2 or 3 years. What centralized database service can say that? They have centralized databases are complex. They have failover. What if the backup thinks the active is running and the active thinks the backup is down? And you have all these complex failure modes that cause downtime. Blockchains don't have that. XRP is the digital asset that emerged from what we now call the XRP ledger.
XRP, baby.
It's interesting to compare some of the differences in its attributes to those of I picked Bitcoin just because it's the biggest one.
Y'all see that shirt?
Federated Byzantine agreement gives faster finality. You could argue proof of work never gives finality. That's probably, it gives relative certainty over a much longer period of time. But what I really want to talk about is the subject of this talk, which is the under the hood on the XRP ledger. But I should point out we've had over 45 million XRP ledgers have closed without any incident. The major innovations that I think I should call out, number one is Federated Byzantine agreement. And that means it's not expensive to produce consensus. We don't produce a consensus by piling expensive work. We reach consensus simply by agreeing. And when I first started working on using Federated Byzantine agreement in a blockchain context, I didn't think it would be robust and reliable, and it turned out that it is extremely robust and reliable, and we'll talk more about why. But the other innovations, transactions operate on views, and this is important. Manipulating a digital ledger that has cryptographic properties is expensive. There's hashing involved, there's digital signatures. So when a transaction operates, it doesn't operate on the ledger directly, it operates on a view, which is like a more efficient structure that sits between the transactor and the ledger. And the major advantage that we get out of views that I think is something that really should be adopted across this industry is invariant violation checking. I think if I had to call out one innovation that happened in the XRP ledger after its initial deployment as a major innovation, it would be this invariant checking. I can't overstress how important this is. Let me explain to you what invariant checking does. So think about something that you really don't want to happen in a blockchain. Like you don't want there to ever be too many Bitcoins. Like some bug that created more Bitcoins would be terrible. We had one of those in 2013, and it was pretty terrible. And you could have the same imagined problem with the XRP ledger. What if there's some bug that allows people to create XRP? And if you ask me, like, how do I know that there isn't a bug like that? The only answer that I could give you prior to invariant checking would be look over the code, and you won't find any way to create Bitcoins. You won't find any way to create XRP. If you do, tell me, I'll fix it. That'd be really, really bad. But I'm pretty sure in those tens of thousands of lines of code, you won't find a bug like that. Oops, but somebody did it in 2013. That's a terrible answer. What you want to have is one line of code that says there can't be more than this number of Bitcoins, or there can't be more than this amount of XRP. And that's what invariant checking does for you. But it does it in a very interesting way. After the transactor operates, the ledger has not been modified, only the view has. And you can analyze that view to see what changes it makes in the ledger. So if I make an XRP payment to someone, maybe I send them 1 XRP. So I have 1 XRP less, and they have 1 XRP more. If you look at that modification, you can see the total change in XRP to the ledger. So one of the changes reduces the amount of XRP in the ledger by 1, and one of the changes increases the amount of XRP in the ledger by 1. And you can sum those up to say, on net, the transactor does not increase the amount of XRP in the ledger. But if it does, we just throw the view away. So literally, the invariant checker looks at the view, sees if it creates XRP or violates any of the other invariants that we don't want violated, and if it does, the transaction is, the results of the transaction are replaced with a notation that the transaction violated system invariance. And that notation goes in the ledger. So if we ever did have a transaction that created XRP, you would actually see an entry in the ledger that said, hey, this transaction caused the system to violate the system's rules, and so we threw its results away. And so instead of there being more XRP, there would be a permanent embarrassing notation in the XRP ledger's history that there was a bug. And you could recreate that transaction, you could replay it, you could fix the bug, and you would never have caused any corruption to the public ledger state. That could have prevented the DAO attack. It doesn't prevent every attack. It could have prevented the parity wallet attack, but it can prevent any attack where you can make a list of the things that you don't want to happen, and those tend to be the worst things. Like someone creating more Bitcoin is one of the worst, worst things that could happen. You can easily identify that and fix it in an invariant checker. So before I was talking about how it turned out that using consensus or federated Byzantine agreement to solve the double spend problem turned out to be a lot easier than I thought. And the reason for that is quite interesting. So first of all you really need to do is put transactions in order. If I make a double spend, I try to send the same funds to two different people. If we can agree on which transaction goes first, then we can agree that the second transaction doesn't have any funds to transfer. So really, all you need is a global transaction order. I say all you need, that's obviously not a trivial thing, but it's important to understand that the double spend problem reduces to putting transactions in order. And you can put transactions in order just by hash, like transactions have a hash, so you can literally sort them. But that doesn't solve the problem by itself, because I might sort 2 transactions and you might be sorting 3 transactions, and so the transaction that you put first might be a transaction I didn't see. So you need some way to agree on which transaction shall be executed as a unit. And that's precisely what consensus does in the XRP ledger. There's a voting system where nodes vote on whether or not to include transactions in the current round. And their test is objective. If the transaction executes successfully, and if the transaction was seen before the round begins, you vote to include it in the round. If it doesn't meet those tests, you don't vote to include it in the round. And all that you need to maintain consensus, the only possible scenario, first of all, if it's an invalid transaction, there's no consensus issue, there's no double spend issue. Every honest participant will never process the transaction in any way because they see that it's invalid. So that's not a problem. The problem occurs when I see 2 valid transactions in one order and you see 2 valid transactions in another order. And that's solved by agreeing to put them in the same unit and sorting them. The reason consensus is not that much of a problem is that the only disagreement that honest participants can wind up with is two participants. One says, I saw this transaction before the consensus round began. The other one says, I didn't see this transaction until after the consensus round began. That can happen. Transactions take time to propagate, and nodes can't necessarily precisely agree on when a transaction round began. And all that the honest nodes have to do to preserve agreement is agree to defer the transaction for 1 round. Deferring a transaction for 1 round just means it executes 5 seconds later. And it's important to understand that no honest participant would defer the same transaction twice if it was valid. Why? If you've deferred the transaction in round 7, you must have seen the transaction before round 8 began. So there's no reason for you to defer it in round 8. So an honest participant who wants to execute their transaction, like if you imagine the nightmare scenario, I have Bitcoins, I submit a transaction to spend them, and that transaction never executes. Like that's what we really, really, really don't want to happen, right? That's the case where there's real hard censorship. All we need to prevent that is people agreeing to defer the transaction, and then all honest participants will agree to execute it in the next round. And that is in practice what happens on the XRP ledger. Every honest participant values agreement over everything but correctness. So obviously correctness is priority 1 for an honest participant. If you imagine a Bitcoin or any blockchain system, a transaction that's invalid, no honest participant will ever act on in any way. That's important. Correctness is, if the system is not correct, it is completely useless. Agreement is priority 2. If we have no agreement, then the system is not useful. And priority 3 is forward progress, because you can have a system that's both correct and in perfect agreement by never executing a transaction. That's obviously not a solution that anybody wants. We have a secondary process called validation that determines afterwards that there actually was an agreement. You can demonstrate through mathematical proof that consensus cannot be perfect. It doesn't have to be. We optimize consensus for performance. We have the validation process to ensure correctness, to ensure that we know whether or not the consensus process actually succeeded. And a couple of seconds after consensus settles on a ledger, we determine that consensus did in fact settle on that ledger. Network splits can be detected as they happen because you won't hear from the nodes on the other side of the split. And any sort of treachery is provable. So if a validator defers a transaction in round 7 but votes no on it in round 8, like that's provable. And so you can just stop listening to that validator. The XRP ledger is not UTXO based. This is another technological difference between the XRP ledger and Bitcoin. We looked at Bitcoin a lot to see what Bitcoin got right and what it got wrong. And the UTXO decision to use UTXOs rather than accounts has really only 2 advantages. So one advantage is that you can execute transactions in parallel a little bit better. Because transactions, you know what a transaction affects. A transaction says, hey, I consume these 2 UTXOs and I produce this new UTXO. You know, as long as 2 transactions don't affect the same UTXOs, which they most likely will, you can execute them in parallel. The other advantage is it makes privacy a little bit better because you can have a large number of UTXOs that aren't associated with each other. But there are a lot of disadvantages to the UTXO decision, and so we chose to use an account-based model in the XRP ledger. And the biggest advantage is you can manipulate your account as a thing. So for example, you can change the keys on your account. If you have an address that you receive Bitcoins at and you lose the keys, or you don't know the person who has the keys you don't trust, you have to give people a new receiving address. You probably heard about like exchange compromises where people have to create new receiving addresses.
Wow.
If your account was an actual thing on the ledger that you could manage, you could just change its key.
Wow.
We also have managed multi-sign, where you can designate other accounts that can sign for you, and you can specify what assets you want to accept. The XRP ledger is a multi-asset ledger. Non-XRP balances exist between accounts, and accounts can agree to owe each other funds or issue each other funds, and they can use debt to meet this payment. It's essentially kind of like a LET system fully built into the XRP ledger or a community credit system. You have an integrated decentralized exchange so that you can place offers to trade assets. Payments can take those offers, and a payment can actually execute against the decentralized exchange. So I can just say, hey, I want to pay you 53 Bitcoins, and the system will find the liquidity from the assets I hold to make that payment as cheaply as possible for you. Half does that for you, and you can have a multi-path payment, so you don't have to draw down the same order book to make the payment. But digital currencies, they're not going to fix payments by themselves. We have a problem in payments, which is that networks don't talk to each other, and that makes payments slow, expensive, and unreliable. And customers want better. Customers do not want to spend 3 days waiting for a payment. They don't want to call and find out where their payment is. Costs are going to have to come down if we're going to be inclusive and be able to make payments internationally. Blockchains don't solve this problem because blockchains don't even talk to each other, much less do they talk to non-blockchain value, where most of the world's value is today. If we're going to be successful in getting digital currencies out there, they're going to have to connect to existing value systems, and it's going to have to be part of fixing payments more broadly. An interoperability project that just interoperates blockchains is not going to help blockchain connect to where the world's existing value is going to be for some time. We need some way to connect all of these networks together. And I just briefly, the Interledger protocol is, I think, a protocol that can connect. It's a minimal protocol. It's very much like IP. It's just a way to move value, developed through the W3C. It follows the internet stack, just like we've had innovation below IP. We have new ways of transporting IP packets. We have innovation above IP, and GPP didn't exist on the internet when IP was developed, but we can innovate both on top and below. The same is true of ILP. We can innovate both below it and above it. But the main point that I want to make is that ILP is a micropayment technology. Over 1 billion ILP payments in 2018. And there's a reason that's important. You can do everything with a micropayment. Micropayments are kind of like packets. If you think about the way the internet works, it sends a packet to its destination with the best effort. ILP does the same thing. The smarts are at the endpoints, and the same thing is true with ILP. So if I want to send somebody $100, I can just sort of start streaming money at them, and when it gets to $100, I can stop. And that is better for a number of reasons. If you're going to make a payment in one shot, you need to get a quote. But do you get a free quote, or do you pay for the quote? If you get a free quote, it's going to be a terrible quote because you've got a free option. If you're going to pay for the quote, how many quotes do you pay for? Do you just pay for one and then take it? Do you pay for 5 quotes and only take one of them? When you stream micropayments, when you make payments by micropayments, you can stream that payment through multiple forwarders, and those individual forwarders can stream that payment through multiple forwarders, and you can take advantage of that best path. And if the path is really good, you can stream money faster. and if the path is really bad, you can stream money more slowly. And the net effect is that you can manage a payment as a series of micropayments. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to you guys today, but if we lived in the circuit switch days of telecom, packet switch, like sending a telephone call or a packet switching would sound just as crazy, but it's just as innovative. If we can develop micropayments that are as cheap as a DNS request, micropayments can take over the world. We can put all of the world's payments on a modern payment platform that interoperates between both blockchain and non-blockchain value.
XRP drops.
Interledger payments plus digital assets could be that internet of value, that way to move value all around the world. Thank you.
XRP, baby. Woo!
Thank you so much, David. We're not going to have time for questions today, but with one more round of applause for
XRP.
So one of the first people to be inspired by the
Okay, guys, I gotta go track him down because he's probably gonna leave, and I'm gonna try to get a quick interview with him.
I'd like to now introduce 𝕝𝕚𝕟, the chief scientist at
How you doing? What's your name?
𝕝𝕚𝕟𝕜𝕚.
Oh, hey, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you. I wonder if Dave got stuff out of here. Oh, he's taking his jacket off. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to catch Dave real quick in the hallway, try to get a quick interview with him. So I'll be right back.
All right. I'm very excited to be here, and today I'm going to be talking about the new consensus protocols for thundercard mainnet. As we all know, in all these decentralized cryptocurrencies, we want to keep a public ledger. And the core abstraction we need here, using the terminology of distributed systems, is called state machine replication, and this is often referred to as the blockchain or consensus. And in the state machine replication protocol, we have a set of nodes. In this case, we have Ethereum nodes, and these nodes.
He's coming behind me, guys. I gotta try to set. I gotta get this.
Okay, there are two important security properties that we care about, namely consistency and liveness. So consistency says that all of the honest nodes must agree on the log. Okay, it could be like the network has delay and your network is a little bit faster than mine. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, we must agree on what this really are. Now, liveness says that whenever you write a speed, your transaction should be incorporated in every honest node view,
Dave, any chance you got time for one question though?
I got a couple minutes. I got a whole bunch of people I want to talk about. I just want to get away from this talk just because I don't want to disturb.
Oh, okay, great,
Go
great.
far enough away. Go far enough away not to disturb.
Good Lord, you got a whole train of people with you. Holy moly, guys! Look at all these people that came to see Dave. The whole room came with them. Holy moly! Whoa! Look, the whole room emptied out to follow Dave. Joe Katz, babe. Yeah, he said I live. Yeah, he just said I live streamed it.
I wish I had more time to talk about it. So this whole moving the path forward is exactly what IOSDP protocol does. I can give you the IOSDP, which is fine. So we have this big project with Berkeley trying to help musicians and artists get paid recently. And so one of the big issues is that when Spotify plays my music, right, I have no indication that they pay, and if they play 10,000 times, I only get less than they said. Yeah. Could micropayments be used so that when they play my music,
yeah, and you can cut out intermediaries too, because the problem is right now, even if Spotify wanted to pay you directly, it's impractical for them to do it. Right, and those are, although they are taking a lot of your money, they're also essential because the payment infrastructure is so inefficient that there's simply no way that they could, when they pay your
Holy
song,
moly, guys! Dave Schwartz live.
There's a couple different, but one of the things that I wanted to make clear in my talk is that micropayments aren't just about micropayments, but yes, they're also about micropayments. It's like I sort of ignored the obvious. Because one of the problems that I have is when people say, "What are micropayments good for?" And the typical answer that you give is a micropayment application. And there are good micropayment applications. Your example is probably the best one I've heard. I usually have done things like, "Oh, I could pay to go through a door." It's like, well, why would I want to pay to go through a door? Or like, I could pay the car in front of me if I'm in a hurry to pull over. Like,
and it also applies also to composition, right? Because right now, when you're at some music and a band wants to perform it, they have to go to a publishing house and say like, what is this thing?
You know,
it's like crazy. Look it up. Right?
You could imagine if like I was talking about email and I said, what's email good? You could ask me like, what's email good for? And I would have a hard time answering you. Like I would say like, well, no one's ever going to like send a wedding invitation by email, right? That needs to be personalized. And if you order something like, you order something to be shipped to you, well, that can't be. What does that leave for email? Like maybe 30%, but of course, all of the applications were things that we could not have.
They said Dave is Einstein's son.
That we couldn't do before. That's interesting, right? And that's a good example. But the point I want to make in my talk is that if we build really good micropayments, not only can we do micropayment applications, which is like the obvious thing, but we could literally take over the world of payments. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business that doesn't work for a significant fraction of the people who use it. But what's also good about that example is that you have these middlemen who are, like, they're often portrayed as like evil rent seekers, right? They're just taking, but we don't have the technology to exclude them. It's like, okay, well, why can't I just sell directly to Spotify? Because the amount of money that they would have to send you, would probably cost them a couple of dollars to make a payment, right? And they would have to aggregate it over periods of time. They'd have to make millions of payments. Well, 1 billion _ledger payments took place last year. And it's not even a blip in what the system is, what the technology is capable of. I'm a huge.
So maybe I've talked to Evan,
Evan Schwartz
in Boston. But he's too busy with the Interledger project itself.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Evan Schwartz and Stephen Thomas are the co-creators of the Interledger protocol. They were both working at Ripple at the time.
Just disclosure, Ripple was one of our early sponsors at MIT.
They moved.
I'm biased.
So they moved on to Coil now. And what I want to say one thing about Coil, that's something that a lot of people don't realize about Coil. So Coil's business model for today is you send them $5 a month, and then as you browse the internet, they stream micropayments to the owners and operators of the websites that you go to.
Drops.
So ideally, like you would go to, let's say, Wikipedia, and instead of seeing a page asking you to donate, you would see a thing that says thank you for donating. And some other websites might have premium content.
Wow.
But you might think like, well, what does that have to do with micropayments? What does that have to? What is the innovation? Like anyone could have done that at any time. The innovation is the website that you go to has no relationship with Coil whatsoever if they don't want to. They simply put a tag in their page that says to your browser, "I'm accepting micropayments at this address." Coil is a sort of micropayment provider on the customer side, but anybody could do that. I could, if I wanted to, with no relationship with Coil whatsoever, stream money to the websites that I go to using the Interledger protocol. And I would get the same thank you for donating, I would get the same access to premium content that a Coil user would get. So it is a truly open system that can only work with a micropayments platform. The reason it can only work with a micropayments platform is like if Coil was the only web monetization provider, it's not a problem. I'm sending $5 to Coil. That's not a micropayment. And Coil could send $50,000 to Wikipedia on behalf of all that. You wouldn't need micropayments. But then Coil would be like the Amazon of web monetization, and that's not the innovation. The innovation is anybody can be a web monetization provider, and anybody can accept the web monetization without having to enter into a contractual agreement with every web monetization provider. It is a truly decentralized and open protocol. And that's, I think, the groundbreaking aspect. And that's something that you can only do with micropayments. But even if you don't think the use case is just for micropayments, I hope I can convince some people that you put enough it's like someone might say when I propose the internet, what good is sending a packet of data? Well, sending one packet is billions of packets.
What's the minimum size of the micropayment?
What I wanted to ask, how micro is micro?
You had a number.
It's like the drops with the XRP tip bot.
On the XRP ledger, you could theoretically send 1/1,000,000th of an XRP, one drop.
Yeah.
But you'd pay a 10-drop fee to do it.
Yeah, so what's the optimal?
So it depends on. So there's two things that you could do. So you could send a direct payment, and if you say, well, I don't want to pay a fee of more than 1%, then 100 millionths of an XRP would be the minimum. But we also have something called the payment channel, which is used when you layer IOP on top of the ledger. And the way a payment channel works is I lock up some XRP, and then I give you claims against that XRP off the ledger. And there's an interesting point about our implementation of payment channels, which is I can put more money in the payment channel anytime I want. So if I want to pay him, it's just a couple of payments. I could put 1 XRP in that payment channel, 50 cents, 40 cents, whatever. And then if I decide I'm doing more business with him, I can just put more XRP in that payment channel. And let's say it's a couple hours later and we've accumulated a significant balance and he wants to use that balance for something. He can take what he's already owed out of the payment channel without disrupting our ongoing flow in the payment channel. One of the things that surprised me when I looked at technologies like Lightning or payment channels or these higher level technologies is I thought that they would make the features of the ledgers irrelevant. It's like if we're talking payment channels, what difference does it make that Bitcoin transactions are expensive or it can take 10 minutes? It turns out that the reverse is the case. The parameters of the underlying ledger are extremely critical. So for example, if I want to set up a payment channel to him, and I don't know how much I'm going to need to pay him necessarily, if it takes a Bitcoin transaction, that means I'm waiting an hour and I have to decide how much I'm going to, and he may need to, right? But if I can set up a payment channel to him in a couple of seconds on the XRP ledger, and if it turns out I don't need it, I can close it. Or I can put just a minimum amount of money in it and then I can add more later. And at most it's 5 or 10 seconds rather than an hour. So one of the reasons I like Bitcoin is rather than building on top of the crappy existing financial plumbing, they ripped it up and started over. You see efforts in interoperability that are building on top of systems that have, it's like, oh, we don't need to make Bitcoin handle more transactions per second. But Lightning can do that in a second layer. I mean, that's kind of how we got to.
But like, what about like the XRP tip bot though? It has like what, 1 million drops in it, and we send drops all day on Twitter. Is that like the same thing?
That is. That's an upper layer, and I think what's going to happen is I think more and more value is going to move to those upper layers. It's a little bit depressing when it comes to like truly centralized custodial services, but I don't mean to discourage people who are building those upper layers. We need those upper scaling layers. Every transaction on a public ledger is inherently expensive because everybody has to process it, everybody has to store it, and if you imagine any public blockchain that did 1 million transactions per second, running a full node would be extremely difficult. Very few people would be able to do it. It is a public good. So anything we can get off the public ledger, as long as we can keep the public ledger open and accessible. If we get to the point where it costs $1,000 a week to run a full node, then for practical purposes, that lowest layer is not accessible. So I think the priority one is keep that lowest layer reasonably accessible so people aren't forced to use like custodial services because they can't afford to access the lowest layer. But for practical purposes, like let's build the best next layers that we can. Ideally, not custodial, not large amount, maybe, but even if they are, my philosophy is like we need to grow the ecosystem and everything is better than nothing. So even if it's a custodial service, even if it's really locked down, even if they have like, at least they're still using the same assets and they're increasing the value of those lowest layers. So I still see that as a good thing. And I really do think it's important to be as inclusive as possible because we don't want to be a toxic space. We want to be a space that attracts talent. I've said this before. At one time, like if you were cool, you worked at Microsoft. If people who worked at Microsoft, oh, wow, this is a person who knows what they're doing. And then there was times like, wait, why didn't you work at Microsoft? Like, was Apple didn't want you, right? And then there was a time when like cool people worked at Facebook, and then it was Google, and then it was, then it was Uber for a little while. And now it's like, oh my God, you're still working at Uber? What's wrong with you, right? We want smart people in this field. We have a lot of problems that we need solved, and we are chasing them away with toxicity. And we need to stop that.
I agree. How do you feel about the ecosystem now today from maybe a few years ago? I mean, do you feel like we've had a lot of growth where we're going in the right direction?
Yeah, I think the much as painful as the bear year was for me, I think that shakeout got a lot of the I have a white paper, give me $100 million people out, or the people who are just like, I heard that the streets are raining money, I want to get in this field. People have no interest in building anything or even understanding the technology or I think a lot of those people got shaken out, and I think also it proved that there's more to this than just the speculative element, that there actually is an underlying technology, that is an actual problem that we're solving.
Exactly.
And so I think that's really, really good. I have to say, sometimes I feel like things are taking forever, and other times I feel it's amazing we've gotten as much accomplished in as little time. I think the truth is somewhere in between those two things. But I think there are problems that we can only solve together. Regulatory is a good example. No one company is going to be able to solve some of the regulatory problems. And just on the regulatory front, it's not bad laws that are the problem. There are some bad laws that are a problem, but the biggest problem is uncertainty. People who don't know what they need to do to comply with the law, because the law is like, for example, there's a law that says that if you take custody of someone's money, like there's certain things happen. Well, when do you do that? You know, if I open a payment channel to you and I send you a claim to that, have you taken custody of that money? Or is it still mine? Or like nobody knows what the laws mean. And there's a serious risk that people will be told, oh, you should have known that you were breaking this law. And so we looked at that law and we honestly could not figure out. And no one's going to put, you know, millions or billions of dollars into a business when there are those kinds of risks. So that's I think still the biggest problem. I think I should also point out, it is really hard to get bank accounts. That's another problem. There are hundreds of legal businesses every day that can't operate or open because they either can't get a bank account or lose their bank accounts. Some change has to happen to that, and that is on the government to fix. These look like private banks making private decisions about what customers they'll do business with, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is it's legal uncertainty and it's legal risk that they're mitigating. And it is on the government to fix the laws so that legal businesses can get banked. And I think if you talk to people in this business, they'll tell you regulatory uncertainty and the inability to get banking connections are the biggest obstacles.
But is it a catch? The banks also have uncertainty, so they don't want to touch this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a catch-22. It's a circular problem.
But on the bright side, the nice thing about that kind of problem is that it unwinds very quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have a chicken and egg problem, that kind of sucks if you don't have a chicken or an egg, but if you can get either one of them, then the problem goes away very, very rapidly. So it's the same thing, like if we can reduce some of that regulatory uncertainty, then maybe some of the banks will be a little bit more open.
I got to meet wonderful exponents. The second one are also
They're wild.
going fiat. That's it. I can tell you that globally, and I live in Panama. So we are currently having a lot of trouble. We're on an exchange platform where it's almost we want to launch, but to open accounts have been almost impossible.
Yeah.
And we're going through all type of jurisdictions, okay? Soft jurisdictions, regular jurisdictions, and it's the same thing.
I know.
And I think
You know,
there's a lot of fear.
we
There's
have
a lot of
banks.
fear.
We have banks that will partner with us. Like they send their payments on our platform, but they won't let us open an account. Right. But they know everything about us, right?
To
Like
open
they-
an account with
There are
you.
some options.
They've done all of their due diligence, right? They looked at us very closely. They obviously wouldn't route their payments through software that we provide. Like they know everything that's about. It's like, oh yeah, but we can't take the regulatory risk of letting you open a bank account.
Revolut is an interesting entity. It's a digital bank in UK and also operates in Montenegro, and it has a solution also for enterprises. So you should look into it, and they are really quick.
I will say one of the things that a lot of our customers on the 𝕝𝕚𝕟𝕝 side like is that they don't have to go through intermediaries. They can, if there are two companies that want to exchange messages and funds.
Let's
go direct.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing is that you need to go fiat. Again,
When you what?
when you want to go fiat, when you need money.
Yeah, so finding the last mile. So the same problem with XRapid. So XRapid is our product that settles fiat payments with cryptocurrency liquidity. And I thought that the cryptocurrency liquidity would be the biggest problem with that because I thought, exchanges have huge spreads. And the biggest problem is the last mile. The biggest problem is getting the fiat once it's at that exchange to the final customer, because whoever makes that payment has to be some entity other than the entity that's making the sort of outer payment. And what's interesting about that is that's not a cryptocurrency transaction, right? So like if I'm using US dollars to deliver Mexican pesos, and he buys the Mexican pesos with XRP. But now he sold me his Mexican pesos. From my point of view, it doesn't matter that he bought it with XRP. I just need to deliver it to the end user. But that is an incredibly difficult thing to do because the company that makes that last payment has all kinds of exposure from the originator. And so you kind of have to settle that like company by company by company. And this, we're trying to operate in Mexico and the Philippines Brazil, and so we have to knock those things down jurisdiction by jurisdiction. It's exhausting, but it's funny that the cryptocurrency issues are not the biggest problems. Like I thought that like the cryptocurrency ecosystem would be the problem, and it's not. It's everything else that's the problem. Like, I say, like, why don't enterprises use Bitcoin? Bitcoin's not the problem, right? It's everything else.
You know, that's what the banks told me. They said, I don't have any issue with your exchange and with the cryptocurrency. You're going to have the issue, and once you want to realize that money.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and it doesn't matter what type of supports or documents you give them. Okay?
No,
it's just an imposition.
I wish I could tell you some of our stories on that same front, but yeah, everybody in this business.
Turn up the recording.
It doesn't.
Oh, this is
matter.
live.
And banks have you might think, well, like large banks don't have this
1,000
problem. Yes,
people.
they have the exact same problem. We have this problem. Everybody in this business has this problem, and I don't know. I don't.
We're trying to launch.
And you know what?
The whole
It's
region
not.
for that.
It's not big banks trying to protect their monopoly. It's not so much the. It's not. It's overly simplistic to say, oh, these evil banks like don't want the cryptocurrency community to thrive. They probably don't, but that's not so much what's happening here. Because when you have a person who's an account manager at a bank, and they're like, I'd love to have this customer. This customer is going to run millions of dollars, and it'll be one of my accounts. Like they're not part of some global conspiracy. Like while they're making that decision, but what's happening is that they have to look at the downside. This is one customer that could potentially like blow up on them, and in many cases the conduct for those fines is egregious, so that's okay. Like if you're knowingly helping terrorists get money, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars of fine, I'm not going to say, hey, the fine for helping terrorists launder money shouldn't be hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not the point. The point is like, but you don't know, could that exchange be helping terrorists launder money? Like, could you be the person? It's not going to make you a whole lot of money. It's one customer. Could you be the person who said yes to the thing that winds up helping some terrorists launder money?
So the legislation, if I focus on this interchange between, virtual to fiat, I mean, that's really the problem point, right? This
And over-regulation.
Yeah, and regulatory uncertainty and fear of enforcement of vague regulations, and it's a lot. And that's something we have to work together on. But you know why that's not happening? I'll tell you why that's not happening. Because there's a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of cryptocurrency scams. Let's be honest. We all know that. And nobody can draw a bright line between. Nobody can say like, here's the reason why I'm absolutely nothing like BitConnect. Like that, there's a simple rule that you can follow, and you can apply that test, and you can say these are the scammers, and these are the. It's not that simple. It just is not that simple. And so that's not to say that there aren't things that are scams and things that aren't. There are, but it's not a simple test. You have to look in great detail, and it's hard to write a regulation that says if you're a scammer, you can't do this. Like, right?
You know what's the principal issue here is that even that we are disruptive and whatever you want, okay, we need to auto-regulate at some point, and that sometimes is a paradox because it's a principle that we were questioning it. Why we have to do this
Okay, I'll ask
regulations in order to put order in our own ecosystem.
But it's the same problem though. Like if you care about Ethereum, you probably want to approach regulators in a consortium with Bitcoin. But do you want to approach regulators in a consortium with a coin that's 50 further down on the there's this sort of continuum of the ones that you almost can't question and the ones right. So how do you self-regulate when we can't? And the other problem is the sort of fake news problem. Like it's really hard to figure out if how real a cryptocurrency project is. Unless you have a week to devote to looking at the code and doing background investigation, the cost of admission to figure out. I remember I tried to figure out what was going on in the Bitcoin block size debate. I know Bitcoin as well as anyone. I'm connected to many people in this industry. I spent about 3 hours trying to figure out what was going on, and I came out knowing less than I think I went in with. I'm like, I don't know are there good guys and bad guys here? Is it that simple? Maybe I don't. I literally could not figure out what the hell was going on. And so if I couldn't do it in a couple of hours, I mean, even personally knowing many of the people involved, and I still couldn't figure out, was this a black and white thing? Is this a genuine technical disagreement? Okay,
Let's
but I
just
mean,
say it's not the blockchain.
there were passionate technical arguments, but then again, when there are passionate technical arguments, it could be because people feel passionately about technical things.
20% of the issue.
And it could be because, like, I make money if we pick this decision, and I lose money if we pick this one. So I'm going to marshal the strongest technical arguments of the position. Yeah, I mean, and of course, this space is intimately connected with money. So, yeah.
Dave, I apologize. I got like 1,200 people here, and they're like really spamming this chat. They want to know if you can just tell us anything about _PolySign at all.
I'm under a very strict NDA. I will just say I'm really excited about what's going on at _PolySign.
Okay.
I really wish I wish again, it always comes down to, like, we're doing some really cool stuff.
Okay.
It's not what most of people have been speculating about. I can probably say that. It is an institutional custody company. I probably shouldn't say anything else. But I wait for the day when we get out of stealth mode and I can talk about some of the stuff that we're doing, but that day is not today.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dave.
Thank
All right, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah. Anyone who wants pictures, happy to do them.
Oh my gosh, you guys, man. I wasn't gonna ask him that question because, like, I didn't want to be pushy because I already know it was gonna, like, I'm under the NDA thing. But then when the guy donated 200, then everybody started saying, "Oh, the guy donated 200. Ask the question. Ask the question." But I did not want to ask him that question. I wanted to ask him about the drops, the ecosystem. I wanted to ask him about Coinbase going, you know, you can buy XRP, because his biggest thing he was talking about was regulation, right? Now, up to a few days ago, you couldn't even buy XRP in New York. So now XRP is on Coinbase. Now they offer it in New York. Like, something happened the last couple of days. Like, they're not moving XRP in New York. Like, this is the most regulated state in the United States. Something happened with regulation, some kind of clarity in the last couple of days. But I went ahead and asked him that, guys. I know, yo. Salty, you're right about that, man. Like, whoa, I felt bad. I'm trying to think. See, the thing is, you want to try to always keep things kind of calm and cool, so I can, hey, you know, Dave, can I get, you know, an interview in the future? I don't want to be as the guy, you know, ask the hard questions the first time. I want to get Dave to say XRP baby. Nah, it was no big deal though. I mean, that's what it's really all about when you're a journalist, or, you know, it's about really, you know, asking tough questions sometimes. So it's no big deal. But the person that donated that 200, what was his name? Thank you so much. That was amazing. Man, there's two things I want Dave to say. One is XRP baby, and the other one is watch CKJ Crypto News. I already got a picture. It's already on Twitter. Dave, can you just say shout out to the XRP community? Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. I chase them down, guys. That's how I do it. Oh, man. Guys, that was amazing. Yeah, Dave got security guards and everything with him. That's kind of wild. Why would Dave have security guards? Huh? He had security with him, didn't he? Huh?
Wow,
yeah, he has.
Who was he?
That's Dave Schwartz. Yeah, he's the. He's pretty much like the inventor of the, pretty much of XRP, basically.
Yeah.
Like co-creator.
Can I be connected with you?
Oh, can you what?
Can I be connected with you?
Yeah, what do you mean? On my channel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you know the name of it?
What is that? Is it YouTube?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube live streaming. It's called CKJ Crypto News.
1 second. You are streaming?
Yeah, I was live streaming. We got like almost 1,000 people in here right now. Yeah, you can subscribe to my channel and then check it out. It's called CKJ Crypto News, right up top. Yep, came right up as soon as you press C. Yep, we're live. Matter of fact, if you hit on your screen, live, is it live? Yep, it's about to be after the ad goes away. Now you're live. Thank you, I appreciate that. Have a good day. Wow, guys, that was amazing. Yeah, you got that right. Hey, it was just somebody that came up and asked, you know, what the channel was, because they probably just want the video. Yeah, guys, I'd like to really thank everybody who tuned into that. I really appreciate that, guys. Please smash the thumbs up, smash that subscribe. I know we just passed 20,000 subscribers because we got like over 1,000 people in the room, and we're only 50 subscribers away from 20K. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate that, Bubba. Jay Kills, Anthony Los. Thank you so much, Ripple Army. Jay Currency, we did it, Jay. We did it, Jay. Oh man, guys, that's amazing. I'm trying to tell you, I cannot believe I got an interview with Joe Katz. Wow, that's amazing, guys. And the thing is, like, I didn't want to be pushy and ask too many questions, but like that was a rare opportunity. Like, I probably won't see him again for like another year. So I said, man, hell with. Plus the one guy was hogging all the questions anyway. So yeah, the one guy started hogging the questions, and then it just seemed like they really didn't want to ask. It seemed like everybody was like kind of starstruck, and oh, Crypto Captain, you were the man, dude. Thank you so much, bro. But once the one guy started spamming, asking questions, I was like, man, I'm ready to jump in here. But guys, did y'all catch that interview? Like, whoa, like he dropped so many breadcrumbs. Like, he was talking about how the ecosystem, you know, they're focusing on drops or micro payments. So, you know, there's guys, I'm telling you, I hate to say this, and you guys I've never been one about the 10,000 per XRP or 1 million drops. I never pushed that scenario, but it's been running crazy through the community. But from what he was saying, oh, Brad Abel, thanks big time, bro. What he was saying about micropayments, and like there's a lot of drops. Like you can't say, okay, I'm gonna send X amount of Bitcoin or like that. I think that's like how it's crazy how they created the XRP to have 1 million drops. I'm telling you guys, I think that's gonna play a big part in the future. Oh, we're over 20K? Oh, wow, thank you guys. I really appreciate that so much. Yeah, that was crazy. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody that donated. I really appreciate that. Brad Abel, congrats on the 20K. Thank you so much. XRP Army, good job with the interview. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. Connie's in the house. MP28, Save. Guys, I'm trying to tell you guys. I'm telling you, I would go back and watch that interview when he was saying about the micropayments and the drops and all that. Like, wow. Oh, Bitcoin has 1 million bits. Oh, does it? Okay. Well, the thing is, you know, basically with them focusing on the micropayments and all that, and that's when I was like, hey, we send drops all the time now with the XRP tip bot. Crypto Jim Rat. Oh, Jim Rat, what up, bro? Good to see you, dude. Thanks. It's almost 12 a.m. here, Lewis Wong. Thanks for tuning in, Lewis. I appreciate that. Thank you, Connie. I appreciate that. Wow. Well, guys, my next, Brian, what time is it right now? I can't even see the clock. Can somebody tell me what time it is, EST, New York time? Because Brian Armstrong comes on at 11:30. I'm trying to get an interview with him. And I'm going to ask him about the Coinbase. Oh, there go Ryan Zagone. No, I'm just joking. That wasn't Ryan Zagone. Oh, that wasn't Ryan Zagone. Guys, oh my God, I can't believe I was asking him them questions. Like, wow. And he was like into it. Holy moly, Reigns 175. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that. Like, yo, somebody in the chat was like, I could see Bob Way and Dave Schwartz talking for hours. I can see that too. Man, it's insane how smart Dave is, though. Yeah, that was exciting, asking questions. I couldn't believe it. Like, Lex Coins, what up? I know, me too. That was insane. I felt like I always talk real freely on the stream with you guys. Like, I felt like a groupie, though. Like, I was like starstruck. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it's like, you talk about somebody so much. It's kind of like you know them almost. Oh, guys. Oh, yeah, and guess what? I might as well tell y'all now, too. Guess what, guys? I ran into 𝕝𝕚𝕟𝕚 last night, and he invited me to this DCG group party. It was a digital currency group party. Yeah, I cannot believe it. I was chilling with 𝕝𝕚𝕟𝕚 last night, and Glenn Hutchins was there. I'm telling you guys, I was there, and I looked over to the left, and there was Glenn Hutchins right beside me. If you guys are familiar with Glenn Hutchins, he's on the Federal Reserve Board and he's DCG Group board member. And Barry Silbert was there. Oh my gosh, it was insane. Yeah, guys, like pretty much real quick, make a long story short, I remember 2018 consensus. I pretty much wanted to go, but then I was still, kind of small. I was still small then, didn't really, making no waves. So I said, I'm going to 2019 consensus. And yeah, this is New York. So then yeah, New York City in the house. Brian Lum, where you been, bro? Good to see you, dude. Yeah, guys, so I had a goal for 2019 that I was going to go to consensus. And I went, like, wow, like, holy moly. Ali G. But it was crazy because it was like, when I was there to, like, the DCG group party, like, nobody knew me. Like, I was, like, just standing by myself, like, nobody really talked to me or knew me. But it's like, I don't know, really quick and then I'm gonna get out of here, but it's like, in life, you can go out and do things, or you can sit home, basically. Like, for example, like, nobody knew me there, but I got invited there. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, last year I didn't even go. Then this year I went, or I got invited, but they didn't know me. If you keep pushing and trying to make yourself known, or, rub shoulders with these people, next year they might know who I am. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep trying, keep pushing, guys. He said, who knows? Oh man, I should have said, Dave, send me some XRP. All right, guys, I ain't gonna talk you guys to death. I gotta go look at my itinerary, and I'm gonna try to get an interview with Brian Armstrong. So I should be back shortly. I'll find the hot dog stand. Oh, you don't even want to see. They got these little stands everywhere around here, real quick. I'm gonna do a separate video a little bit later. See, they pretty much got these everywhere right here. How much that candy bar right there, man? Hey, good to see you, my friend. How you doing today, buddy? How much is that candy bar, man? Okay, I was just checking the price. I don't really, okay, that's not bad, 150. I thought he was gonna say about $4. YP Shorty's here. YP Shorty, what's up, YP Shorty? Crypto man. Crypto man, thank you for donating at the beginning, dude. I appreciate that. 50 XRP. Oh, there was something else he said. I don't know. I'm going to go back and watch the interview. I'm going to take a bunch of notes and stuff, and we're going to do like a recap later, too. That's all you hear is horns beeping out here, guys. It's like nuts. Everybody's in a rush to go somewhere. But, guys, it's been a hell of a weekend, guys. You seen XRP last night go up to 40 cents. It was like 23% up on Coinbase. I was like, whoa. And you see a lot of these here, guys, like these Tahoes, like these trucks. Oh, man, you see all kind of stuff here. It's a big money city, guys. Rudy Del Rio, great job. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, bro. What's up, man? You all right? You chilling? Oh, man, I be having fun, man. I like to talk to people. All right, guys, much love. Please smash some thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and love. I'll check back in with you guys shortly when I find Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. Now, I want to ask Brian Armstrong. I think Coinbase and Ripple's on the same team, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of that. All right, guys, much love. Please smash the thumbs up. I'll be back shortly. XRP, baby.